Press update. Looks like we'll be having some more press updates today. So we have 2:30 and 6:30 already scheduled. I'll send out, as I sent you all this information, I will send out additional information about additional updates today. After the day is over, though, we will not be posting on Facebook because our tech person will need to go home. So it'll just be for us after the work day is over. So as of about 2 o'clock, we've processed 1,959 absentee ballots, so it's 1959. We did have a couple of issues with machines today. Some machines had gone down. Calvary had an issue, and Green Bay Metro had an issue, and so we sent the text there to fix those machines. Please be aware that if a machine is not functioning, it is the instruction to the chief inspector to put any ballots that were not able to go into the machine in something called an auxiliary bin, which is actually contained within the DS200. So if voters do not see that, please do give us a call. I did have to contact a chief inspector in order to just make that adjustment in their understanding. Also, as of 10 a.m., we had about 80% of our ballots still remaining. I did get a call for some other ballots out on the east side, and things are really humming, which is really great. And so, yeah, that is what we have going on. I know that there have been a couple of gatherings in town. So there was a gathering over at Joanne's Park that has nothing to do with my office. There was a DJ who was playing music that has nothing to do with my office. And so I let the Parks Department and the Police Department handle those issues in the way that they feel is appropriate given our guidelines and our access to public spaces. So, any questions? Yeah?
I have a question.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at this year in terms of poll security on the day? Because we're seeing a lot of people downstairs. Is that similar with all polling locations in the Green Bay area?
So no, that's a really good question. So the question was about what do we see in terms of police presence in particular, right? Because we do have a security guard here at City Hall, but the security guard is a layperson, and we have also police presence here at City Hall. So no, at polls, we do not have police officers stationed at polls. What police officers have in relationship to the polling locations are they have the names and telephone numbers of each of the chief inspectors that are assigned to each of our, we actually technically have 51 wards. We have 4 split wards, one that's a little tiny ward, Ward 1, so technically 51. So the people who are assigned to those 51 wards, the police department has their contact information, and they also have the polling locations, obviously. The police department's also equipped with electioneering maps. So our planning department made electioneering maps for each one of our polling locations, including City Hall, which was a polling location for early voting, as well as Johnsonville Tailgate Village. So the police department is armed with that so they can respond to any charges of electioneering at polls. But no, we don't have police officers at polls because for some voters that is very off-putting. Here at City Hall, voters can come in and drop off ballots, but there's no voting actually occurring here today, only dropping ballots off. So that's why there's a police presence here. Yes,
Have you
Jeff?
received any complaints of electioneering or inappropriate behavior at the polls?
So I have gotten some concerns from voters regarding the closeness of an observer at one location, the closeness of a poll worker at another location, and these 2 voters were concerned about the same thing with different people, and that was the secrecy of their ballot. So I did address those 2 issues with those 2 chief inspectors. I also gotten a complaint about, as I said, a gathering at Joanne's Park. Evidently, the people who had rented the park had left some things behind in our right-of-way, which becomes an inspection issue. I am not empowered, nor is anyone empowered to remove signs off of public right-of-way. The city manages our own property. So if you do see, there was a gathering and there are signs left over and it's in our right-of-way, just call us and I can transfer you to the inspection department and they will take care of it. So those are the 2 things, those are the few things that I had heard. Yeah?
Can you kind of give a brief overview of what's going to happen after after 8 o'clock here inside
We will keep counting, and we will eat pizza and eat delicious baked goods from one of our local bakeries and drink coffee. So we keep counting in the state of Wisconsin. We cannot stop counting until at central count until all of the ballots are done. But there's another component, what happens after 8 o'clock. So after 8 o'clock, the building is closed to anyone, not you all, right, to the members of the media when I invite you back, because I think we'll be here again. So the building is closed to anyone after 8 o'clock who is not in central count. So that's a central count observer or a central count worker. Nobody else can be in the building. And starting at about 8:15, we have our poll workers returning their materials. And so we have a nice kind of drive-through almost situation going on in the back where poll workers are dropping off their materials to us so that we can pack them up and get them all situated to reconcile the elections. So that's what's happening after 8 o'clock.
Are you able to speak to voter turnout, in comparison to years prior? I know that, you might not have exact figures at this point, but just kind of what you've been hearing from poll workers and what you've been seeing.
Sure. So in terms of poll worker experience, I can say that the chief inspectors that I've talked to, they say it's very busy at their polling locations. So that busy, you can take that however you want to take it. Voters flow in and out. They flow in the morning, they flow in the middle of the day, at lunchtime, they flow, after like school pickup and then dinner time. So that's kind of the flow, But turnout, of course, is a denominator, with the numerator being how many ballots did we actually get. And so I won't know that until all the ballots are turned in.
Do you have any information about the number of new voters?
The number of?
New voters?
So newly registered voters, if you go onto our website, you can see kind of where we started off in like mid-October with the number of registered voters. And you can see how that's been ticking up. But of course, people can register in Wisconsin on election day, and I won't know that until really 2 weeks from now, 3. Yeah.
Speaking of that busyness, again, in terms of maybe, wait times, are people experiencing, kind of long lines, or is it, moving pretty efficiently at the polling location?
So I haven't heard any issues about too long lines, and of course, too long lines is a community standard, right? It's relative. So in some parts of the United States, an hour would be fast. In Green Bay, an hour would be long. So I haven't heard anyone being concerned about waiting online for too long, according to our own community standards. Yeah.
Have rules for election observers changed at all since the primary or previous elections?
That's a big question. Yes and no.
Okay.
Can you ask me a specific question about which rules have changed?
In terms of like the number of or number of election observers allowed in the room itself versus the hallway, or the distance between the poll workers that they're required to, or the distance that the election observers are required to keep?
Sure. So the distance rules have not changed. It is still 3 to 8 feet. No less than 3, no more than 8, from any of the public aspects of voting. And so at polls, that's registration, poll book, depositing the ballot. Those are the public aspects of voting. Obviously, when one is standing in the voting booth, that is not a public aspect, okay? So that rule has not changed. Excuse me. What has changed is, and also there is no absolute number for the number of observers allowed in a space. Wisconsin has 72 counties, and in each county, especially some of our rural counties, people are voting in village halls and church basements and elk lodges. And so these spaces are wildly different. Even in Green Bay, our spaces are wildly different. So space is paramount, and the first people who need space in the polling location are the poll workers and the voters. And so it really depends on how much space there is in the polling location and what any chief inspector can accommodate for first poll workers and voters, and then observers. So there's no absolute number, there's no ratio either.
Has space in City Hall downstairs placed any constraints in regards to what you can allow for observers?
So the room that we're using downstairs has a maximum capacity of 49. Because we have 20,000 some odd ballots to count at the beginning of the day, we needed a number of teams. We even spilled out into the hallway. And so we have space for 9 observers downstairs.
And are 3 out in the hallway versus?
Yes, because we spilled out into the hallway. Yes, indeed. We have, I think, 4 tables of teams of people working on ballots in the hallway.
Okay.
And so there's spaces for 3 observers.
Okay, 6 observers in the room, 3 in the hallway.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Yes. And we're rotating observers.
Yes.
So every hour we make a rotation. We make sure that we have space for Democrats, Republicans, and then other types of designations, either self or Constitution Party or the ACLU or League of Women Voters. So those people, so everyone who has an identity, which you have to basically give us a category to which you belong when you come in. And so we make sure that there's space and we rotate every hour.
Have you been seeing like some ideological diversity among those?
I'm not checking people in.
Oh, you can't say that kind of
Yeah, and, well, I'm not checking people in, so I don't know. I only saw the list in the beginning of the morning. And I'm sorry, in the morning, at the very beginning. And so I would say it was a nice cross-section of political beliefs across our fine state, but now I couldn't tell you.
Sure.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Last-minute message to voters?
Last-minute message to voters. Well, be patient. Please make a plan. It is not too late. It's 2:44. It's not too late to make a plan to vote today. Be sure that when you go to your polling location, you have the proper documents. If you need to register, you need proof of residency. If you're going to vote, obviously, you need to have proof of identity. If you're not sure what those documents look like, visit our website, greenbaywi.gov/voters, plural, and I have infographics for both proof of residency and proof of identity. Please be sure to be at your polling location so that you can be in line by 8 o'clock. Because if you're lined at 8:01, you will not be voting today. So please be sure. Anyone who has an absentee ballot still at home, be sure that you have a witness your ballot, have them print their name, sign their name, and then also provide their house number, street name, and municipality. And deliver that ballot to us, again, by 8 o'clock, not 8:01. 8 o'clock tonight, and we're open, I said, for voters until 8 o'clock tonight. And if any voter has a question, they can certainly give us a call at 920-448-3010.
Sorry, one other question.
Yeah.
Is there, do the election observers on those chairs, are they meant to stay there? And has that always been the policy, like to stay in the same spot in that room?
So the room is tight, and election observers in the state of Wisconsin have many, many privileges and rights. What they do need to do is to follow the instructions of the person in charge. And the person in charge of central count is Deputy Clerk Fuge. So we need people to be sitting or standing. There's a space that they can stand next to their chair. Sorry, I keep hitting that. Because we just want to make sure that there is exit room in the room, that people are not getting in the way of other people doing their job, because a team member has to get up and talk to Jamie and the other people who are at the tabulators. So that's why this year we're saying people need to basically stay put. And it's busy too. You know, when we have an election, when we have maybe 6,000 absentee ballots, it's not as busy. But with 20, we're busy, and so they just need to stay put.
Gotcha. So throughout the election observers' time in the space, they should be staying in the same spot, not moving around.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Another last-minute question.
Mhm.
Are we able to take any video or anything inside central count today?
Sure. So if you want to do that, you just come downstairs with me, and I'll make sure that we can get you in, and there's a spot where you can stand, just like when we were on the 4th floor, same kind of thing. You kind of stand in a corner and have a shot for some B-roll toward the center of the room.
All right. I'll be happy to go down with you after.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Anything else?
Earlier, you
Yes.
mentioned that there were some concerns from different communities of people that might have been a little bit belligerent, or you've mentioned that there's been like a gathering at Joanne's Park.
Mhm.
Has there been any other situations or anything unusual that have happened at polling stations from anybody? Anything else that maybe didn't?
Sure. I'm not quite sure how to define unusual. So, from my perspective as a clerk, I take the concerns of the voters and I take them in, find out what had happened, see how I can solve problems, and then if I need to make correction with the chief inspector, then that's really my main goal. Outside, like the thing in Joanne's, and then there was some music at a couple of locations, that ends up being an issue that I give to others who manage those spaces. Does that answer your question? Okay. All right. You got a follow-up?
It was more specific of just like anybody kind of like fraudulent activities or something in that regard.
So, I think it's really important for us to be very careful with our language. And so when voters experience something that doesn't seem quite right to them, they'll call. I've gotten 3 of those phone calls today. And so I just determined, so what did you see that was not quite right? Yes, I agree. Let me just make a correction with the chief inspector. And then we move forward. So that's how I determine what needs to be done by the voters' concerns. And if I can answer the voters' concerns and perhaps the voter misunderstood what was happening, that's possible. There are many, many moving parts to elections. And elections are different in all 50 states. So just, a little education as well as troubleshooting and problem solving is what my tasks and goals are for today. Yeah.
With those calls you mentioned today, were those cases of voters misunderstanding or of there being an actual issue? Or?
So the things that I'm thinking of that I'm talking to, there was an actual issue where I needed to make a correction.
Okay. Are you able to elaborate on that or not really?
I think that will be adequate.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else? All righty. Well, thank you very much. I'll see you at 6:30. And please have your news stations look out for the email from me, which probably won't happen until later on in the evening about some further press conferences.